Okay, so hello and welcome to the monthly motivation meetup. It's so great to have you with us here today. I've had a chance to talk to pretty much all of you before we got started today, which was great. We had a great conversation about herbal tea and kombucha, so that's always fun. I like having conversations about those kinds of things. So why don't you go ahead and just type in the questions box. Let me know again where you calling in from today. So it must be a nice day in Australia, all over Australia today, because I don't see our Australian contingent here yet. It's going into spring and summer there, so it might be a little too nice. They might be hitting the beach today. It's a little too nice to be on a webinar this morning, maybe, for them on a Saturday morning. So we've got Tracy from Frederick, Maryland, and sorry, I read that backwards. Beverly from Frederick, Maryland, and Tracy from Dallas, Texas. So thanks so much for joining us on your Friday evenings. And I'm sure Ivy's here from Warwick, New York as well. And I'm sure we'll have more people joining us in as well, as it's just past 4:30 now. So also, as we join in, as we continue on, why don't you just go ahead and let me know what was the best thing that happened to you this September. It's hard to believe it's the end of September already, but September has a way of doing that, just kind of going rather quickly. So go ahead and type in the questions box and let me know what the best thing that happened to you this September. So as you do that, we've got an hour together. I'm going to give you as much as I can over this next hour. And I will make sure I also stay all the way to the end until I answer all your questions. And I'm happy to take questions as we go along as they're relevant. If they're a little off topic, I will save them until the end and answer them at the end. Okay, so, oh, I see. They're kind of coming up at the top. So Ivy says she's got a new yoga buddy who was an answer to a prayer. Beverly said she finished doing all 32 beginner classes. Congratulations, Beverly. That's a really huge accomplishment. And 32. Yeah, we have 32 now. No, I need that. Yeah, that's a lot of classes. I'm still doing 101. Yeah, Tim's still doing 101. And Ivy's congratulating you, Bev. So that's great. Now, I also would like to hear from you as we get started, since this is all about staying motivated. Oh, there's Tracy's. Tracy's been settling in with her new class of students at school. She loves all her new fifth graders, so that's good. It's really great when you really connect with your students. I know we've been super happy here, Tim and I. Trinity has a great team of teachers this year, and that just makes the school year a whole lot easier. Okay, so as we get going, since this is our motivation meetup, I would also like to hear from you about the biggest challenge you have staying motivated. So if you can let me know what that is, then that can help me a little bit to tailor this meetup for you a little bit more. I have a good plan for you, and I'm going to tell you where we're going to go with our plan in a minute. But if I can know what the biggest challenge you have staying motivated, then that can help me to address your needs and concerns as we go along. So as you're doing that, if you are a social media savvy, then you can also take a selfie or a picture of you on this webinar and post it with the hashtag Namaste Yoga or the hashtag membership motivation. And you can post it on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, or Pinterest. My Instagram is at drmelissawest, and my Twitter is at drmelissa. My Facebook is /your Namaste Yoga. That would be really great if you can post there and let other people know that you're on the Motivation Meetup. You're going to need pen and paper. If you have a yoga journal, it'd be great if you can take your notes right in your yoga journal. We're going to have some posts. We're going to have some questions that you can write in your yoga journal that are going to be relevant to your practice right now. So that'd be great if you use a yoga journal. And I will also, as you're putting in your biggest challenges to stay motivated, let you know when our next meetup is. So I'm going to pull up the membership site now. So if you go to our membership site right at the top by the meetups, if you go to the monthly motivation meetup, Tim's already posted the October meetup for us. So if the Friday evenings work best for you, then in October, the Friday evening one will be, oh, you left it on the 20. Oh yeah, you left it on, we moved it to the 23rd, right?
What's that?
The 23rd. We're going to do the 23rd. Friday, October 23rd. We were debating whether to do the final weekend. Tim wanted to do the final weekend. I said no, because it's Halloween and that would be too much competing with that time. So you can check that out, and then there's the time zone converter as always to see what time it is in your world. Okay, so there's that for next month. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what the biggest challenges that people have with staying motivated. So Ivy says running out of energy. I can relate to that one, and a busy school schedule. So yeah, it's once that school starts again, that can get tricky, staying motivated and staying on track with your practice. And then Bev says she finds she procrastinates and gets off track. That is a normal human tendency too. And Tracy says distractions are her frustration right now. Okay, so those all make sense and those seem very common. Okay. Oh, I just figured out how to put them in order that they come in. Tim, they were going in some sort of weird alphabetical order by the question or something before, and I was having to read through them all and try and figure out where the newest ones were. That was not going very well. Okay, so this should go a lot more smoothly now. Okay, so thank you. That makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of us can relate to those challenges. They are ones that we all have in our lives. So make sure you have your pen and paper. I want to welcome in our new members for September. I want to welcome in Christina and Helen and Krista, Deanne, Nick, Ree, and Amy. Particularly, I want to welcome in Nick. She's been a very prolific poster in the time that she's been here over the last, I think she's only been a member for a couple of weeks, but those of you who've been on the weekly challenge will recognize that name, Nick Gerard. She's been a very welcome addition to our community already. Okay, so let me tell you what we're going to cover today in our meetup. I'm going to give you as much information as possible, and I'm going to try and help you stay motivated for our practice. And the thing that I'm most excited about is that this is going to really tie into everything that we've been doing on Namaste Yoga and in the weekly challenges and everything that we've been talking about in Membership Minute. So it really ties everything together nicely. And if you've missed out on any of that, not to worry either, you can jump right in as well. So we're going to start with asking the question, what is your why? So this is probably one of the most important things. We do it at the beginning of every yoga class. We set our intention. We think about why we're here. So in a way, this is getting back to basics too. We're going to go back to remembering that our practice, especially when we set an intention that's an aspiration. And so sometimes our aspirations can be high, and that's good. And then it can be challenging because it's hard to meet those aspirations. And so it's important to remember that our practice is about progress, not perfection. And then we're going to talk about the importance of establishing allies, because we've been talking a lot about saying no and the importance of saying no, especially in the Focused Living series. And so it becomes quite easy to start to see everybody as an adversary. And as members, we're going to talk about how you can see people in your life and things as allies rather than adversaries and obstacles. So we're going to do this in a way that's interactive, so you can ask lots of questions. I can find out exactly what you need, and I can give you hopefully what you want. Type in your questions. You can raise your hand. You can put your hand up, and then I can unmute you at any time. I'm really happy for us to have as much conversation as possible. And so you can speak at any time that you want. I'm really happy to do that. So I would like you to begin by getting your yoga journal out, and we're going to start with the questions. And this is, what is your why? And this gets back to intention. So as I said, over the last couple of weeks in the weekly challenge, we've been going over Sankalp as a way to focus your yoga practice. And Sankalp is a concept or idea that's formed in your heart. It's a desire that you intentionally bring to fruition in your life. And it can form an intention not only in your yoga practice, but also in your life. And this week, Ulrika, last week, a lot of people got really focused on their top values and strengths. And that's great because it gives you some hints as to your Sankalp, your intention, and how you are probably living your life. But I really like what Ulrika's done this week because she's asked you to dig deeper. So she's asked some important questions, and they are, why do you practice yoga? And what's important to you about living your yoga? And she's asked us to write the answers to these questions down and keep them with us and repeat them to ourselves at the beginning of our yoga practice. Because knowing our Sankalp can go a long way to helping us to motivate ourselves to get to our yoga mats each day, rather than falling at the mercy of distractions, the distractions to other people's demands, nonsense, the kind of nonsense that can fill your day rather easily. Without a why, we can find ourselves really easily conforming to expectations and doing things that we've always done without a sense of passion in our lives. And it's easy to get distracted by constantly doing what other people tell us to do. And we end up saying yes to please rather than ending up having time to do the things that really matter to us. And this is a lot of what the Focused Living series has been about. So before we know it, can become days, become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, years become decades, and all of a sudden it becomes a lifetime of fulfilling other people's needs rather than our own needs. And this is a pretty scary thing. So this is why it's important to take that step back and to really look at our own whys. Why are we here? What do we want from our own lives? And this gets to be this can be a challenging question for people. So a clear why allows you to ask yourself, am I on the right path? Where is my journey leading me? And is it where I desire to go right now? And having a clear why lets you make an important shift from your day being an object of resentment to it being a thing of beauty. And it really is possible. It really is a possibility. So here are some questions that I think can be really helpful for helping you to determine your Sankalp or your intention. So what we're going to do is write these questions down in your journal. And then once you write them down, I want you to just, without thinking about it too much, just write down answers that come to you quickly. So we're going to go through these fairly quickly, and I don't want you to spend too much time being perfectionist about this, but just let whatever answers come up and let them go down on paper. Okay? So the first thing you're going to write down is, what do I care about? And then whatever comes up first, just let yourself write that down. It doesn't have to be the right answer. It's just whatever comes out. Maybe the answers will surprise you. Okay, so the next question is, what makes me come alive? What makes me come alive? And then you're going to write down, what do I do that allows me to feel fulfilled? What do I do that allows me to feel fulfilled? Again, just let the answers flow out of you without thinking too much. Doesn't have to be the right answer. And then, what did I do today that I found meaningful? What did I do today that I found meaningful? And then, what are my innate strengths? What are my innate strengths? And where do I add the greatest value? Where do I add the greatest value? Here's a good one. How do I want to show up each day? How do I want to show up each day? What do I want to contribute? What do I want to contribute? And then, what cause will keep me going when I feel distracted? What cause will keep me going when I feel distracted? How will I measure my life? How will I measure my life? And then, how do I want my legacy to be? How do I want my legacy to be? Okay, so once you've written out those questions and the answers that first came to you, maybe there's a question and an answer that stands out to you. So I'd love to hear from you. Maybe raise your hand and let us know what stands out to you from that. Maybe there was something surprising, something that stood out, something that you didn't expect. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear from you. And once we hear that, then I'll talk about how we can form this into an intention. And then we'll go ahead and after that we'll do a mudra. But maybe we can hear from you now. Maybe somebody will raise their hand, let us know what stood out, what feels kind of different about that. Or you can type in the question box too. So Ivy's got her hand up. I'm going to unmute her. Okay, go ahead, Ivy.
I was noticing that the question, what did I do today that I found meaningful? I told my husband when he came in, I really didn't do anything today, no chores, I didn't get anything accomplished. But when I thought about the day, it was so full. And I had so much wonderful conversation and coaching, and I had so much work that I got to do that I loved, reading and working with Brene Brown's new book and linking some things up for a video that's coming up and that I'm going to do at the beginning of October. And it just felt like such a full day, and I was so surprised that I felt that way and didn't do anything. All the stuff I normally do was not done.
But in reality, you had a very meaningful day.
I did, very, very much so.
Yeah, so that's really cool that at the end of the day that you were able to bring awareness to that.
I admit it, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I know. I think this is a really valuable exercise because I can feel that way too. Like a day can feel unproductive by, I don't know, by some certain standard, and yet it's actually we've had a very meaningful, soul fulfilling day. So thanks for speaking about that. Thanks. Anybody else like to speak about what stood out to them about this experience? Okay, Tracy says she will. Okay, Tracy, go ahead.
Yes, I think, yeah, I think Ivy's right about that, that you don't think sometimes that your day has value, but if you look back, you really do find things that you do that are very valuable. You just don't pay attention to them sometimes. And I do that many times. I'm not, tuned in. I'm just so busy, and that's something I have to work on. But the question that I thought was really standing out too was the legacy, because that's like looking way down there, and I just so that just really kind of threw me off a bit. I didn't really know what to say. I just kind of said, well, I gave to others, talented, but I don't know if that's really how I want to be remembered. Um, so that was a bit strange to me.
Hmm. Well, yeah, but it's an important question, isn't it?
Hmm.
How you want to be remembered, and I think those gut level reactions are important ones, right? Is that I think what you wrote down first probably is important. You know, that you want to be known for giving to others and that you want to be known as talented. So when you said talented, tell me more about that.
Um, well, I would love to be like, super talented in one thing, but I don't consider myself that way. I still think I'm working on, many things because I've had different careers and jobs and I've, roles. I stayed at home with my kids, for many years and I went back to work. So, um, I don't really know. I think that's just sort of a pipe dream. I'm not really sure it's reality for me. So, I don't consider myself talented in one area being super successful, but maybe that's something I have to rethink as well. Maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit either, because
I
I tend to do that.
Yeah, I bet if you were to look a little deeper, you could probably find your talents.
Yeah, I have different things that I guess I have talent for. You're right.
Yeah, tell us about them.
Let's see. I like creativity. I love art, and I draw, I sketch sometimes,
See?
and mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
like that.
there you go. So to be known for your connecting with other people and as a talented artist,
Hmm.
I think that's important.
Hmm.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and I like I never did those yet, but what do you call those? The designs that you all posted on your webpage that you were making those beautiful
The
mandala.
mandalas, yeah,
Yeah, those I just love those. And in my school, our art teacher posted a lot of the students had done those, and she posted them all up at the beginning of the year.
nice,
Like those are so pretty.
lovely. Yeah, so nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think it can be, I think personally, and we've got BJ here who's just joined us from Brisbane, Australia, and she's an artist too. I think something happens too as well to you at a certain point once you've been doing your yoga for a while that it releases that creativity from you, and it can happen in several different forms, whether it's going to come out in writing and art and dance and singing and that, like in whatever form is going to come out, but it's going to come out once you get those channels flowing, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Tracy. Thank you for speaking about that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak about what stood out to them about this experience of going through those questions? Was anything that came up that was surprising or okay. All right. So at any time, if you want to let us know, you can. So once you've answered some of these questions, you might start to see a theme kind of come up about what's important to you, or maybe not. Like, okay, so maybe I'll share with you some of the things that came up. So you might see something that comes up a bunch of times. So in mine, art came up a lot because that's something I'm enjoying a lot right now. Another thing that came up a lot was teaching. And then another thing that came up a lot that's important to me was relationships. Something that keeps me going is looking after women, women's equality, fighting for women. That came up a lot as well. That's, the legacy, wanting to be known for my teaching, that kind of thing. So if I was to go back and look through that and to form a sankalp, then I actually, just speaking to you all through this, I see important themes around creativity and also around relationships, maybe even leadership. So I might start to form some ideas around those and start to explore those kind of things. And so your sankalp, when you form your sankalp, your intention, it should be in the present tense. It should be in the affirmative. And it often starts with the words I am. So just by doing this exercise with you right now and talking you through it, because I've been going through the exercise with Ulrika and doing the challenge all this week, I had my sankalp so far had been I am connected to my highest self, or I am surrendering to my highest self. And that felt really good, but at the same time, it also felt really vague. So now I can see how going through this process is actually, I'm starting to get some more concreteness to a sankalp for myself that would actually help me along. So if you can start to see some of those themes emerging that are important to you, the things that get you jived up, and I'll post these questions I'll post them again with the recording so that you have a record of them, although you've written them all down now too, so you have them in your journal. You can go back to them as well. You can go over them and look at what themes emerged and spend some time with them and see what's important to you and what you want to develop over time. Because once you have that why, it's that why that's going to keep you coming back to your spiritual practice, to your yoga mat, to keep uncovering those layers of yourself as you practice. So then what I thought we would do is a mudra now to help to seal in and make your intention more potent. And it's okay if you don't have an intention yet. You probably have some key words that you could bring some energy to. So what we're going to do is the Kubera mudra. And for this mudra, the way it works is you join your tips of your thumb, your index and your middle finger together, and then you curl your ring finger and your little finger into your palm. So it goes like that. That's the Kubera mudra. And then if you're sitting, you're going to rest this mudra on your lap with your palms facing up. And you're going to do that. You just close your eyes, lengthen up through your spine, draw your ears back over your shoulders. And just take a deep breath in through your nose. And let it fall out of your mouth. And then once you've settled in with this mudra, you can close your mouth and breathe in and out through your nose. So this mudra will help you to sharpen your inner vision. It will allow you to see more clearly your path in your life. So as you're forming your intention, it will bring energy to help you form an intention as well. It creates abundance. And especially when your intention relates to the well-being of all living beings. So we spoke about creating a legacy, how you want to be with other people through our questions today. So Sankalp's intentions are altruistic as well. And so this will help to add energy to that Sankalp. So we'll just sit with this for a few minutes, breathing, allowing our energy of our intentions, the keywords for our intentions, to be intensified. Okay, so you can go ahead and take a deep breath in through your nose. Let it fall out of your mouth. And then go ahead and let this mudra out of your hand. Okay, so let me know how that mudra was for you. You can either raise your hand or type in the question box, and I can unmute you so you can speak, or you can type in the question box and let me know how the experience of the Kubera mudra was for you, how you found that. And then we'll go on to our next section. Okay, so as we're waiting for people to type their answers, I feel Tracy's got her answer come in. So she says she feels more focused, but she still has a lot of thoughts coming in. Okay, so that's normal when you sit down to meditate. All of a sudden, you become aware of how many thoughts are happening and going on in your mind. That's pretty normal. I found the mudra quite grounding as well too, and I think when you have that kind of aspiration practice, it's good to ground it down too. So BJ said she found it settled her emotions. Ivy said she liked putting the last two fingers into her palm. She felt more energy there. I like that too. I think That, I mean, because often we might meditate with the Gyan Mudra, and the fingers are extended. I wonder if just having all the fingers connected and then the last two in the palm, that's what makes it feel so much more grounding. So I think that was really nice. Okay, I haven't done that one in a long time. I've used it, you can use it on organs too, I think. So BJ, that could be a good one for you to do now as you're recovering from surgery. You can use that wherever you're recovering from surgery. That's another application of that mudra, I believe, that I've used in the past for organs. It's a really cool application for that mudra. Okay, so the next part I wanted to talk about was progress, not perfection, and I want to share a little bit about my experience, an experience I've had, and then I also want to share an experience with the weekly challenge this week too. So in the first class of Ulrika's weekly challenge this week, she did a class called Who is a Yogi? And talk about an aspiration practice. And this class goes over from the Bhagavad Gita all the qualities of yogi, and this led to quite a debate kind of on the weekly challenge this week about, wow, I could never be that good, and it's kind of amazing, and I'll never be there. And Molly and I really debated about whether to create this class, even because basically when you put all those qualities of the yogi together, it makes the yogi seem inhuman because they're so good. So if you're curious about that, you can go watch the class, and that's kind of the way people came away from the class. But at the very beginning of the class, I talk about how these qualities actually already exist within us. And when we practice yoga, we are recognizing or uncovering the qualities that already exist within us without becoming attached to them or without using them as a way to judge ourselves or each other. So I wanted to highlight these things as we move forward here. Two things as we move forward here. So your sankalp, it already exists within you. And when I was talking to Tracy, she already has this innate ability to connect with other people. She already has these talents within her. When we practice yoga, we are simply uncovering these things. We're just removing the obstacles to them. It's already something that exists in you. Like your path is already there. It's just something you're going to uncover. And, yoga is a practice. It's not a perfect. So we are human beings. There's no final destination that you're going to all of a sudden arrive at where it's like, oh, I finished that sankalp, check, done. Go on to the next one then. So let's keep in mind that we're simply uncovering something that's within us. There's never going to be some kind of perfect, like if you're in school where you get them all right and then you get 100%, because we're human beings and we're definitely not perfect. Well, I haven't met a perfect human being yet. So we can use an analogy. We can use the analogy of cleaning a window. So we might start our yoga practice. When we come into a yoga practice, we might have really quite grimy windows. And so as we start to clean the window, we're going to be able to see more clearly our sankalpa. We're going to be able to see this goodness within ourselves more. Or the other, and then we'll know we're starting to make that progress towards seeing what's underneath. The other analogy is like a lampshade, a really heavy lampshade. And so then you can't see that light within. But as you start to remove the layers, you start to see that light within. So we are also human beings. Humans are fallible. And if we're expecting perfection from ourselves, then we're going to spend a great time being disappointed in ourselves. And if we are disappointed in ourselves, this isn't the practice of ahimsa. When you place the expectation of perfection on yourself, you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to experience many failures, and then you're going to be more likely to give up. Perfectionism also creates an all or nothing approach, which means you'll most likely end up doing nothing. So let me give you an example. At the beginning of this year, I created a song called, and actually it was going to be a 3-year song called, and it was kind of really, it was, I wanted to do loving kindness in thought, word, and action. So 1 year do thought, 1 year do word, 1 year do action. So this year was thought. And I started off the year, and oh my God, as soon as I started the year, I realized that my thoughts were not loving and kind at all. It was like a lot of really negative thoughts. There were a lot of unkind thoughts. And it was like, so then perfectionism came in right away, and I realized it was just never going to happen. So there, all of a sudden, this perfectionism came in, and then it created this all or nothing approach where it's like, I can't even do this. So this is where, and you could see this happening when I was speaking with Tracy, right? Well, I don't know if I have any talent. I don't know if I could do that, right? So we've got to allow ourselves to be human. We've got to allow ourselves to take these smaller steps. So don't take yourself too seriously. Don't try to do everything exactly right. Allow yourself to go easy without getting too self-critical. If you try your best making slow and steady progress, that's amazing. And I would recommend too allowing yourself to, like, it's great to have an aspiration intention, but like that ahimsa and thought one was just like, it was way too, I found it way too challenging. So a previous year's song call was, with an open heart I receive with joy and gratitude. Well, I could do that one a lot more easily. So I would love to hear from you now. I'd like to hear from you for some examples of progress that you've had with intentions, and maybe some examples of where you've had perfectionism get in the way. So you can either raise your hand and speak. We'd love to hear from you, or you can type in the questions box and then I can speak that out for you. So let us know some examples of where setting an intention has allowed you to have some progress, or where setting intention where you've experienced the perfectionism that's caused you to get off track. So I will be looking for hands and comments in the questions box. And I thought Michelle was here, but I think maybe she got offline again. Looks like she's had a bad connection. Yeah, that's too bad. Okay, Tracy's got her hand up. Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
Okay. So, hi. So yes, I was trying to think more of a spiritual thing to bring up, but nothing is quickly coming to mind as being perfection, because I know I'm not a perfectionist in that area. I just try to always try to evolve with that every day, and that's why I love yoga, because I just find it so peaceful and settling for me. And then my outer life, with my school right now, being a teacher, I feel like there's so many demands placed on me as a teacher, and from the administration, the kids, and the testing pressures and all this, and I totally am like that, trying to be perfect, and I think in the end not going to do anything well. So that's a really destructive path in my career.
Yeah. So what ends up happening to you day to day there with that?
Just feel very stressed and very dissatisfied, and I feel like it's unfair that the children have to be. Pressure is placed on me from above, and then I have to internalize that, and then in turn, if I don't deal with that very well or healthy, and I give in to that, then I in turn I can put that pressure on the children. And there's some things I can control and some things I can't. So I think I just have to learn to control, and I'm learning to do that. Just there's only so much I can put on those kids, so I have to hold back and not, put my pressure onto them. It's just not fair.
Yeah. So absolutely, there's only so much you can control in your external environment. And can you see how, like, some of your aspirations around how you want to be in your day-to-day life and how you want to be seen at the end of your life can help you create an intention for how you want to be with your students in your day-to-day life, like that you could create an intention there that may help you to create a guidepost?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think I need to really do that.
Yeah, because it could be something that could be like your lighthouse for the year,
That really could.
Yeah, and it could be just as grounding and calming. It could, that's your yoga off the mat, right?
Right. I guess how do I do that? I guess I have that intention, right? So I take it from how I want to
Right.
feel peaceful in the classroom, not stressed out.
Right. Like what would be your ultimate wish for yourself and your students? Like, I get that there are demands that are placed on you from above that you don't have control over. But if that weren't there, what would be your ultimate wish for your students?
Mm-hmm. For me to be there as their guide to, get their education, more of a guide, not as a teacher telling them what to do, but providing interesting, creative projects for them where they can take. I provide them the tools and where they take control of their learning, because I think they're more creative and they're more motivated that way.
See, I think there's some incredible words that you're using there that you could put into your sankalp, like that you would be a guide, that you show them how to take control of their learning, and that those could still be your guideposts within the limitations that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm writing it down. So
Yeah, because those that's from your heart. That's what you want.
yes, at the end of the day, you don't want to remember school as being a miserable experience.
Right. So absolutely, there are things there. You know, there are limitations that we have. As YouTubers, as
Yes.
like yoga teachers have limitations. we have we have things that like Tim tells me my yoga class always has to be an hour long. That really, I really hate that. Every week he gives me a little slap on the wrist when I go over.
This week was a bigger slap.
This week I got a big slap. So we all have these limitations and things that are imposed on us, and yet we can still have these aspirations, these big aspirations that can be our guideposts, I think.
Yes.
So that we can keep front and center in front of us.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So that's our beautiful yoga off the mat, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for raising your hand, Tracy. Beverly says that perfectionism gets in her way. For example, she talks herself out of drawing and painting before she gets started. And at least she's not that hard on herself when she does yoga. Yeah, so there's an example of that all or nothing approach where if it has to be perfect, then you can just sort of stop altogether. So if we can let up on ourselves and just let it be, not have to be perfect, I think that goes a long way. I know Beverly, BJ's been teaching me a lot about art, and she's really made me not be perfect. In fact, she makes me like paint over she'll get me to do something, then she'll paint over it. And so I never get too attached to what I'm doing, or she'll make me cut it up. So I never get too attached to any layer of what I'm doing when I'm working with her. Yeah, so that kind of process-based art can be really great for letting go of that kind of stuff. And I find also working in an art journal can be helpful, because then it's not going to be anywhere. Nobody's going to see it. But yeah, that perfectionism can really stop us in our tracks. BJ says, well, see, now even though BJ can push me to be not perfect, everybody has it. BJ says, I can be very punishing to myself. With a huge project on the go now, I've noticed since committing myself to yoga, I take a steadier pace with hiccups at time, but the self-talk is not so violent. I just have to watch when I slip up that I don't go down the rabbit hole again with self-criticism. And then like Tracy, it affects those around me. Yeah, so definitely it affects those around us. And yeah, I think I wanted to bring up this point, and we'll move on now, but this point of allowing it to be that the practice is not a perfection, that it's just a practice, and that when we set up these aspiration practices, that it's not that all of a sudden we're going to become saints or something like that. Hi, Michelle. I see that Michelle got back on, so that's good. Okay, so the final thing that I wanted to cover today was about finding allies, because we've been talking a lot, and we will continue to talk a lot about the importance of saying no rather than yes to everything that comes up. And this is another way that we're going to continue to allow ourselves to focus on what's important to us. So we started with our list of questions that really allowed us to zone in on what's important to us so that we can find out our why. And if we're saying yes to everything, then all of a sudden we're not doing things that are important to us. So one of the things that happens with this approach is that it can start to make everything in our life seem like an obstacle, or that people start to seem like adversaries to us. So because we're yogis, instead of seeing others, things in our lives as obstacles or others in our lives as adversaries, we can start to see them as collaborators in our Sankalp. So Tracy, because Tracy's been so kind to speak up, I don't mean to keep pointing you out, but you've given a really concrete example that we can use of working in a school system. So you can start to use your students as your collaborators. You know, how can you work with me to be involved in your education, so that your students can start to become your collaborators. And even you can start to imagine how your administrators can collaborate with you in your vision, and even the other teachers on your team, how they can collaborate with you. So rather than seeing other people as adversaries, you can start to see them as collaborators. And the only way you can do that really is to begin to talk to them about your intention. And that could sound scary, but you can do it in little ways, maybe if we're talking about professional worlds. But at home, maybe it's a little easier when you sit down with your loved ones and tell them about what you truly desire in your life and why. So when you take this time to brainstorm with a friend or a coworker or a yoga buddy about new ways to work together so that all of your desires can be met. And we spoke a little bit about this, or we kind of touched on it a little bit last month with nonviolent communication. So if you want some tools to do that, I would highly recommend Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication. He has books, there's loads of videos on it on YouTube, and he'll give you the tools and the basic scripts on how to do this as well. So that when you can start to engage other people in being supportive of you. And this is amazing. In my life, I have my yoga buddy, Shannon, and we check in regularly with each other on our yoga practice. And this really helps me to stay committed to my practice. Tim and I check in all the time with each other about what we're doing with Namaste Yoga and the membership site, our community. But BJ's here, and we check in probably a few times a day, but at least daily, on our art practice, our art. So maybe even BJ might want to say a few words about that, and maybe I can unmute her, put her on the spot, since she's one of my allies.
She may not be able to.
BJ, can you?
Yes.
She can speak. Would you be willing to speak about that, BJ?
Just ask me the question.
I'm saying how, what's it like to have an ally? Because I feel like we're each other's allies in that too, because you share a lot of your art with me too.
It's like the art is a metaphor, isn't it, for what we're going through in our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we share our work so much on a daily basis that what happens is that it really puts in front of us what we're both going through. And that's very revealing. I mean, sometimes I walk away and I go, oh, have I said too much? Have I said too, am I revealing too much of myself? But I feel that I've developed such a trustworthy relationship with you that I feel that I can really say anything, and that sort of opened the gateway for you to respond in the same way.
That's true. We have a unique relationship in that way, and I have the same relationship with Shannon actually. So I maybe that's probably true of all my allies, is that I can trust them implicitly. And for me, they're very deep relationships. They're very trusting relationships, and I tend to go really deep with them. So they do tend to know.
I can get into it immediately, can't you, with the art, especially because
Yeah.
there's things in art that reveals the depth and the colour and wanting to hang on or wanting to be perfect or saying, oh, I'm not good enough doing this, or what do you think? And it kind of puts all the areas that need to be addressed right in front of you.
Yeah, and then some days it can be so raw too. Like some days I've shared stuff with you that's really super raw, and then some days you'll share stuff with me that's really super raw too, and then you can really see what a person's going through. And I feel like it's the same with the yoga practice too, because you get right into the emotional bodies as well.
It's very honest, it's organic, and it's a beautiful way to communicate when you do it through art with yoga.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for speaking about that. Okay.
My pleasure, darling.
Okay. All right. Tim's telling me I need to wrap it up. I want to just share one example of enlisting allies. So Jane Ellen on the membership site, this really struck me. She spoke about taking a day of silence, and she's posted this, that she's been taking a day of silence on a Sunday for about 6 weeks, and she was saying that the results have been great. And she said, this is the part that is about the allies. She said, it was easier than I thought to organize. She lives in a small space with her husband, her daughter, and her granddaughter, who's 5 years old, and she thought that both they and she would find it difficult. But everybody, including her granddaughter, was very respectful of her silence, and they agreed to have no screen time on her day of silence. and not to disturb her. So she said they still speak, but they speak more quietly, and they are all reporting having positive results from taking that day of that break from the screen time. So I think that's a really good example of, in your own home, creating allies. So I would just like you to reflect on, who are you checking in with? Who are you creating allies with? And who are you sharing your aspirations with? So when you set your intention, it's really powerful to check in with other people with. And I would encourage you to do that. We have loads of places you can do that on the membership site. We have loads of people who would be willing to do that with you in the membership community. I'll just show you that quickly, and then we will wrap up. If you have any questions right now, go ahead and type them in the questions box. I'm happy to take more questions before we finish up. And I just want to show you the Yoga Buddies section here. So you can post here if you want somebody. If you're new, I think most of you have been around for a while, but if you'd like somebody to check in with, you can post here to the accountability section, and just say that you're looking for a buddy, and I'm sure somebody will scoop you up. Or even you can let us know here and we can help pair you up with somebody. Okay, are there any questions before we finish up today? Okay, so any intentions for October that anybody would like to post right now for us to all see and support you on? Okay, well, I want to thank you all very much for joining us for our September Motivation Meetup. I'm going to unmute you all. I guess I have to do that individually. They are all unmuted. Thank you all so much for joining us. I really appreciate that. Have a wonderful month, and I will see you next, well, I'll see you on the forum, but we'll see you in person next month. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Melissa. It was nice.
Thank you. Bye.
Well done.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.